Okay, this video is just an overview of the Power BI environment. The Power BI workspace has a lot of panes and buttons and views, and there's a lot going on at the same time. And I know it's not obvious for beginners, and I know that based on my own experience, the first time I looked at Power BI, I was confused about all of these objects and things that are available. So I'm going to walk you through the main panes and buttons and views in Power BI. We are not going to be specific, but I want to understand the workspace so you won't be completely lost if you're a beginner when you start working in the Power BI environment. And also, we're going to take a quick look at the pane manager and understand how to manage the pane manager so we won't have to discuss it as we move forward, because over the next videos I want to focus on specific issues, and if you already know the environment, we don't have to worry about explaining it as we move forward, so we can keep things that keep explanations and topics at separate buckets. So please don't ignore this lesson. If you're a beginner, if you are not familiar with the Power BI environment, please don't ignore and watch this video, because this will build the foundations so we are not lost as we move forward. Okay, I have a complete Power BI project, and we have a playlist. I will leave in the comments below the link to this playlist in which we learned how to create this complete dashboard using Power BI, Power Query, and SQL Server. But what I wanted to see here as a beginner, and I'm supposing you're a beginner if you're watching this video, this is the Power BI environment, and we will work all time with the three main views: the report view, the table view, and the model view. We have two more views, which are the DAX query view and the TDML view, which we're going to enable in a bit. But these three, I would say the three first view, the model view, table view, and report view are the main ones. And the DAX view and the TDML view are helper views. They will help you develop your project, but your project is actually created over these three ones. Okay, and the main one, if I had to pick, the main one would be the report view, because this is the one that your user is going to see. Of course, you need the table view and you need the model view. You don't actually need the DAX view or the TDML view. They will just help you build stuff, but you don't really need those. You don't depend on those, but you depend on these three. And this one is the one that is going to be seen by your user. You're not publishing this view, the table view, or the model view. These are not going to be published. These are part of your dashboard development, but the report view, this is what actually your final user is going to see on their screens. And you have two ways to display your dashboard. You can have this widescreen shape, this widescreen format, or you can have the mobile view, and you can change between these two views, between the mobile layout view or the desktop layout view. So these are basically the two ways to actually display your content to your final user. Your final user is either going to visualize your dashboard on a laptop or on a computer or on a smartphone. So in this case, I haven't created the smartphone version, but it's very easy. All you have to do is just arrange your visuals as you see fit. Once your data model is built and your visuals are built, and the desktop version, so it's very easy because all of the objects you have here will be available to the mobile fields. So all you have to do is rearrange things and create your smartphone version. So these are basically the main ways to actually have access and to visualize your reports. That's what your final user is going to see. And now you're already familiar with these two views, the desktop and mobile view, but both depend on what you build over these three main panes. Okay. Hey, a lot of people watch my videos, learn a bunch, but forget to hit the like button or subscribe to the channel. If you've made it this far, it means the content helped you somehow. So go ahead and give it a like and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating free content like this, and it also tells YouTube to show you more videos like this one. It's quick and it makes a big difference. Thanks. And again, the you can only change between the mobile view and the desktop view from the report view. Okay, that and makes sense, right? Because I said the report view is the one your user is going to see. So your user is going to see it both either as a desktop view or a mobile view, but it only makes sense in the report view. It doesn't make sense to have mobile or desktop views from the table view or from the model view. And hence we can see that in Power BI, you will only see the choices and the options that make sense to what you're doing at a given moment. For example, once you're working on the report view, it makes sense to you to pivot from mobile view to desktop view. Okay, it makes sense because you're working on the report view. But since you're on the table view, so pivoting between different mobile or desktop view don't make sense when you're working with your table. So as you can see, Power BI will adjust to the context of what you're doing right now. Only the options that make sense to what you're doing at a given moment will be showing to you, will appear to you. And in all views, you will be able to see these panes on the right-hand side of your screen, and you will see a short list. And this is a list of the tables you have in your data model. And if you expand any of these tables, you will see the columns that you have in each table. So it's a different way to show your tables. If you want to see the entire tables, then you will move to the table view. In the report view is where you build all of your visuals and slicers, and this is all created in the report view. You cannot create visuals in the table view. Actually, look at this. You have this pane with all of the visuals available to you, but this panel only appears on the report view. It does not appear on the table view, of course, because you have no space for visual creation here. And on the model view, you cannot add visuals here either. So this only makes sense, like I said, the buttons and the panes that are available to you only make sense depending on what you're doing right now. And Power BI understands that when you're working on the report view, this is where you create your visuals, right? So it will give you the choice, the option to pick the visual you want. But since you're on the table view, it understands this is not the place for dashboard creation. So it doesn't make sense to let you pick a visual because this is not the place for visual creation. So again, Power BI will give you the options that make sense at a given moment. And like I said, the report view is where you create your visuals. This is the one, the view that is going to be released to your user. The table view, this is where you work with tables. And let me select the employee. For example, again, in the report view, you cannot see the entire tables. You can create visuals, but you cannot see the entire tables. You only have a list of tables and columns. On the other hand, on the table view, you cannot see the visuals, but on the other hand, you can actually see the entire tables. So you see that different views have different functions. And if you expand, for example, this list, you'll see that the employees is this table's name. If you go to D products, it's this other table's name, and each of the column names in the list right here refer to a single column in the table. And here you can also create calculated columns or calculated tables. For example, let me pick the employees or F sales. This is my sales table. And for example, I can create, you see this column right here, sales amount. It corresponds to this column right here. And let's say I want to create a calculated column, and I will create this new column, and I will use this new column button, and I'm going to use a short DAX functions. We will learn all about DAX functions in our DAX functions course, so I don't want to worry about writing DAX codes at this point. I'm just showing you one of the things you can do in the table view, and I'm going to call it new table. And this new table actually new column, sorry, column. And this new column would be the square root of the sales amount from the F sales table. And then a new column will be created. There you go. And this is one of the things you can do when you're working with tables, and that's why it's called the table view. And on the model view, again, you can see the list of tables on the right-hand side, but this is where you manage the relationships between tables. You can see that it has a different function. I mean, you cannot create visuals here as you do in the report view, and you cannot see the entire tables as you do in the table view. But also in the table view, you cannot create relationships between tables, nor in the report view. So you only can do it in the model view. And these squares or rectangles, these are also representations of the columns right here, or of the tables right here. If I select, for example, the G calendar table, it will mark this one. If I select the D regions table, it will mark the D regions table. So you can see that each of these rectangles represent one of these columns on the right, and also all of the columns in these tables are also represented accordingly in the diagram. So this is where you create relationships. I don't want you to worry about that right now because we are going to discuss it later on. I'm just showing you the overall environment in Power BI. And in the DAX query view is a way to help you write your DAX codes. And you don't actually need all of these things here. It's just to help you. Just to help you understand what's going on. But actually in this space is used for testing DAX scripts. So if you're working with tables and you want, especially if you're working with virtual tables, you can visualize those tables in this view. And again, I don't want you to worry about this. We are going to discuss this view in our DAX function course. I just want you to know that this is an assistance that you have in Power BI. Actually, this view, it used to be a separate program. It used to be a program called DAX Studio, and DAX Studio was a third-party program that we use for the very same thing. We used it to visualize virtual tables that we insert in DAX measures. Please don't worry. Again, don't worry about it. We are going to learn all that in the DAX course. But we used to use DAX Studio apart from Power BI, and now kind of brought it into Power BI so we can have everything in the same environment. And it really, really comes in handy when you are writing more complex DAX functions. And there's also the TDML view, but we have to enable it. To enable it, you will click File and then Options and Settings and Options. Then in the global options, you will choose Preview Features and enable TDML view. You will select this checkbox and click OK. But now you have to restart Power BI. You have to close out of it and reinitialize Power BI. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close out of it and then restart it. Okay, I'm reinitializing Power BI, and you can see that now I have a TDML view. And on the TDML view, if I drag any of these tables into the pane, you will see a code for this table. And we can make changes to a project directly from the code. Of course, we're not discussing this right now. I just want you to know it exists. Okay, and on top, we have different tabs, and each of these tabs will give you many different resources. And of course, we're not going over these buttons right now, but I want you to know this, that again, like I said, your options will change according to your context. So you can see from the report view that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different tabs. But if you click the table view, then you only have 4 tabs. On the model view, you only have 3 tabs, which means your choices are changing from tab to tab, from view to view. But you can also see that, for example, the Get Data button is in the report view, but on the table view, it's still there. But for example, this Excel workbook button, this is the button for importing data from Excel. This is a small button on the report view, but on the table view, it's a large button a little further right. And you will see, I'm not going over all of these details, and you don't have to memorize any of these. I just wanted to be mindful that the same buttons could be appearing on throughout all of the panes, all of the visual panes, but they could be the same button with a different size or at a different location. You can see that this button right here, it's on the same spot in the model view, but it's on a different spot on the table view, and it's a larger button. So you could have the same button with the same size on the same spot, or with a different size at a different spot, or you can have buttons on one view that you don't have in another view. For example, this visual pane where you can choose the pane you want. You can see it on the table, on the report view, but you can see it on the table view because it doesn't make sense. On the model view, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense on the DAX view or the 2DML view. So you can have the same button on different views, on different panes, with different sizes at different locations, or you can have buttons that only make sense at a given view or pane. And now let's take a quick look at the pane manager. So in the report view, if you click the view pane, you will see pane manager. And all of the panes that you see on the right-hand side of your screen, they could be managed from here. For example, you can enable or disable panes from here. Look, show panes. You can click and select the data pane. It's going to be here. The build pane, it's going to be here. Format pane, and each of the panes that you select will appear. Filters, and then you have a lot of things going on right here. So you can enable or disable them. And the more panes you have by default, they're going to hide your report. So in this case, you must choose the best way to handle this. And a possible way to do it is just disable the ones you're not using at a certain time. Or you can select show only one active pane at a time. And in this case, whenever you choose a pane, it's going to appear. If you choose another one, you're going to switch panes, but you're not going to have more than one pane at a time. And what else? Everything you do from here, from this pane on top, you can do from here. You click the plus button, and look, pane manager, these options here are the same ones right here, and these panes on top that you can select are the same ones as here. So you can enable the ones you want, and you can select show only active pane or not, in which case you will have all at the same time. So there's a lot you can do, basically the same things from this panel on top, or using the pane manager, which is this little vertical strip on the right. And you can, in each of these panes, you can either, if you click the three dots, you can either choose collapse. If you just collapse it, it's going to collapse, but it's not going to disappear here on the right hand side. Let me make it easier for us. Okay, I'm using let's work with the format pane. It's this one, format pane. Okay, if you click the three dots and select collapse, so it's going to collapse, but it is still going to be here on the right. But if instead you click close, so it's going to collapse and it will no longer show up on the right. Okay, so this is just a simple difference. And if you click the two right arrows, it's just going to collapse. It's not going to close. Okay, it's kind of just a lot of little details, but I want you to just have this overview of the workspace in Power BI. In this video, you learned that we have basically five panes, different views in Power BI. These three ones, the report view, the table view, and the model view, are the most important ones because these are the ones you need for development. But you have two others that could be helpful in your development, and you learn that each button or pane that will appear to you depend on what you're doing at a given moment. They could change time to time. Eventually, only the things that make sense in the context of what you're doing are appearing. And you also learn the difference between the mobile view and the desktop view that only appear within the report view, and you learn how to manage the Pane Manager. With all that, you are ready to start actually learning Power BI. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content with your friends. Your like is very important so we can get motivated to keep creating this kind of content, and it helps us reach more people, grow our channel, and keep motivated. See you in the next lesson.